Oh boy, it's been so long. It feels super weird now. I hope everyone's doing good. It's really fun to see the channel popping off like it has been. Well, popping off 100 subscribers, but I appreciate every one of you. It's cool watching Top Shot kind of become a household name, and then NFTs slowly become a household name. And then sure enough, I basically waited until the absolute end of NFT mania before I came back online, but um, started to finally get back on the newly named Athletaverse project after basically overfilling my plate by way too much, and had to spend kind of like the last few months um, kind of winding things down and handing things off and making sure that the projects that I was leaving were in a good place moving forward. Not that I added too much to the table or anything for any one of them, but it's just one of those, I care about everybody. I want to make sure that everybody is in a good place, and it's just, it's not good to leave people hanging. So, um, I'm still pretty much winding down one. I've handed off one, and I have another one that's in the process of winding down. So, as you can see on the GitHub side of things, at least, we finally have some commits. It feels good. So we won't jump right into that quite yet. I think it would be a little bit more fun to kind of talk about some other projects for a little bit. Just revisiting kind of the 4 NFT gaming projects that I talked about before. Axie Infinity. So they've got some pretty cool stuff coming up. They had a tweet that came out pretty recently that highlights it all, but I'm not going to go digging for that. Let's just pull up their website so we have something relevant on screen. Their nice new website. So the cool thing that's going on recently, they started their Ronin, their sidechain release. So it's like been amazing for like what they did is they put their land NFTs on it and kind of did a beta test with that with just the land marketplace. So the migration was super smooth. I have a couple of land parcels and there were no fees at all, which was really nice. And you basically just had to press a button and they went from the Ethereum network over to Ronin, which is their sidechain. And then after that, once the lands had moved to Ronin, like they were super easy to trade with low fees, and you could see like lots of people moving lands back and forth. And interestingly enough, the prices also just started to skyrocket on lands. So that was cool. It's an interesting like precursor to what's coming next, because I think within the next few months they're planning to roll it out for the actual Axies as well. So I think like the most exciting thing about that is the fact that like the breeding side of things is going to be so much cheaper. Like it's been a non-starter for me pretty much like with the recent like gas fees. Like I did a little bit of Axie breeding after DeFi summer was over. And like gas kind of normal between like I think it was like 40 and 60 gwei or something like that. Like so it was like somewhat reasonable to like go ahead and actually breed your Axies and pay the Ethereum fees, because you do also have to like once you've bred the Axie you have to wait and push it through, like I'd like to push it through a couple of stages, because I was going pretty deep. I was buying like pure Axies so that I knew what I would be able to breed, and then I was breeding other pure Axies, and some of them I wanted to keep so that I'd actually like I don't know what the term is, but like basically like level up or evolve, I guess, through like the petite and small phases to actually get to an adult Axie. So there was a fee to breed, plus you're burning SLP. Then there's another fee to get into petite, and then there's another fee to get to like the next size up to actually grow your Axie into a full adult. So yeah, I was getting expensive, and I honestly don't know. I don't understand the market well enough yet to really crush it like in terms of trading and get my ROI for breeding. So I kind of just stopped like after I got like comfortable with my collection and heard that Ronin was coming, and just basically, I have a real hard time, especially as the price of like ether is rising. Gas fees are just brutal. Like if you go back and see, like for me, if I look at like the last 2 years of like transaction fees on MetaMask, like through one of the wallet tracker apps, it's disgusting. I want to throw up like how much Ethereum I've actually just burnt on basically just learning how to use this stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about Ronin. Getting back to the point here, like it's actually like it's gonna solve a lot of those gas fee problems. It's gonna make like the whole like Axie experience a lot faster, a lot cheaper to use. It'll bring down the cost of breeding so that you're essentially just paying for SLP or burning the SLP that you've earned. That in turn should bring a lot more new users to the game, which is going to be great because that'll obviously add more variety to the arena. And we'll see, you know, the breeding side of things and everything kind of get turbocharged. So that's pretty exciting. I just noticed my mic is like peaking pretty hard here, so I'm just going to turn that down a bit. And if anyone is actually watching the stream eventually and thinks I'm too quiet, just let me know and I can turn that back up. Just trying not to make you go deaf. So yeah, that's in a nutshell what's going on with Ronin. They've got like a new marketplace coming out. Like I don't know what's coming first, but they're completely redesigning their marketplace. The Axis token, like their governance token, has gone to the moon. I'm gonna avoid showing charts on my streams from now on, but that's seeing some major adoption, which is great. And then I think the coolest thing that's coming out for new users is the fact that they're going to release starter Axies, so like a free version of the Axie that, like, I think it's soul bound, so basically you're not going to be able to trade it and you're probably going to earn a reduced amount of like SLP from it, but you'll still be able to do like the whole play to earn thing and get your feet wet with Axie before you have to go and actually invest real currency of some sort into the actual Axies to get started. So I mean the investment is pretty big, like, well, not, you know, for a game, especially with the price of Ether and the floor of the Axie market right now, you're gonna be out at least a few $100 to play the game. So I think it's a great idea to have like the starter Axie side of things and just ease the adoption side of things. That's really what the games are gonna do for the whole crypto industry. So it's great to see Axie taking charge there because they have obviously a great product going. They've had some amazing success. They've got a great community built, so it's exciting to kind of see what's coming next. And I guess last but not least, land play. They have land play coming out, and I've played with their little demo version of it, and that was pretty cool. I'm really excited to see what they end up doing with it, because I know that there's a whole lot more that they can do than that, but it'll be awesome to add a whole new element to the game and be able to kind of explore it like that too, and actually use your land tokens beyond just trading. So yeah, that's Axie. Highly recommend checking it out and reading up on it, understanding how to play. I've shouted them out before. Kagi Jan on YouTube has some great videos on like just everything from getting started to breeding to you name it, land collection, that kind of thing. So if you want to go deep on Axie and really learn the game before you start playing, highly recommend watching his videos. So what's next on my old list here? I think Toshimon. This one does not get enough love, man. So the beta version's gone out. This one is a lot more like DeFi oriented, and I think it's really cool. Like it's a pretty innovative project in my opinion. Like they're obviously going hard on the game mechanics. The beta idea is to test the battle arena and make sure everything's working with some obvious long-term invested people. So you need their LP token. Translation, you need to basically put some of their Toshi token into the Uniswap liquidity pool, and you need to have, I think, at least one Toshi ETH or ETH LP token in your wallet in order to actually access the beta. So I currently do not. I'm lame like that. I actually pulled my tokens out of the liquidity pool because I've been all about consolidation, but I'm still holding my Toshi because I still think this game's actually gonna pump. So this one's pretty cool. That's not financial advice, by the way, but this one is pretty cool. I think the battle mechanics are gonna surprise some people. Like I think there's some really skilled people that are working on this game, and like I said, like I just don't. This game has like the market cap on it is still like I think like under 4 million. Like, so when you compare that to some other games, you can see there's some serious room to grow there. It just doesn't. I think people are a little bit caught up on the price of the token itself right now, from an investment standpoint. But anyway, getting back to the actual game side of things, they have their beta being released, and they have some really cool like DeFi mechanics built into this thing around like staking certain NFTs to earn. Like they have a Toshi Cash currency, which I'm apparently not a baller, so I don't have any Toshi Cash, but they actually have like this whole DeFi kind of world built around this game, and it's almost like a DeFi first in my opinion, because like they've released a lot of these mechanics before they've released the actual gameplay itself. But as they've stated on Twitter, they actually have a playable game like coming out. It's in beta. It's very you can almost taste it. So there are a lot of other projects that are promising like a really cool idea way the hell down the road, but they they can't they can't really show anything besides a website and maybe a cool partnership or two. So I definitely recommend taking a look at this one. You don't have to go through the DeFi hoops at all. You can definitely look at like OpenSea and find a massive variety of like the actual Toshimon already unpacked and for sale up there. So very cool. I love the art too. I think it's really cool. It's for all the Pokemon inspired games, this one is very close to the mark. Chain monsters. It's IO.com. Well, that's a GoDaddy, so we're just not going to go there. But basically, some updates there. It sounds like they're getting very close to launching their alpha version, so that's pretty sweet. I think there's a lot of us that are really excited about that. The NFTs have started to get distributed to like the backers from Kickstarter. So I think it's going to be a little while before you actually get to play that game if you haven't backed it, but it is coming. It looks really sweet. Like the most recent round of updates they did look awesome, like the lighting effects and just the whole look and feel of the map. There's a cool kind of 2D and 3D thing going on at the same time, so really pumped up about that one. I'll definitely do a little bit more of a thorough highlight on it when it's playable, because the alpha should be coming out this month. So that one's doing things. The last one that I reviewed last time was Blancos, and I haven't honestly played it in quite a while. EOS ain't really my thing, but I know that they've released like a new version of the game, like a new version of racing. They've done a lot of updates, quite honestly, in the last few months, so it is worth checking out if you're interested in it. I can't remember if they've released the marketplace side of things. I don't think so, but I know that is also coming up soon too, so that'll be a cool way to kind of keep your eye out for like the founder level limited release packs and I don't know what you want to call them, but they're NFTs for sure. So that was those are like the four that I kind of reviewed the last time. And the new one that I've been playing quite a bit of recently is Neon District, and this one is pretty simple right now, but I think like if you go into the practice match, you can kind of see where it's headed. So right now it's free to play. Jump in, you get like a free character to start off with. I'd recommend just going straight to your team setup, putting your one free character in it, and then doing these pizza deliveries from your Neon Pizza delivery agents screen, so you can select your team. And this is just basically autopilot while they're out on delivery. The only thing you have to remember is to bank your pay. This is really important when you go up from tier 1 to tier 2, which I haven't reached yet because I'm a noob. But when you do that, basically you're protecting it because you can get ambushed in the other tier, so other people can take your neon that you earn from doing these pizza runs. And the neon is the currency that you use to open loot crates, which give you random NFTs that can be very high value if you're lucky. And you can also buy the juice and parts that you need to upgrade your characters and their equipment, which you definitely need to do quickly in order to be effective in the second tier of deliveries. But I highly recommend doing this one because it's free to play. It's a really cool project. Like I just like the team behind it. I like the I think like the whole cyberpunk thing. We're all kind of starving for a great game since the other one that shall not be named kind of fell on its face on launch day. So I think this one has a lot of potential to be cool. It's using the blockchain. It gives you that ability to trade around your assets. And then the other like big win to this one is that it's on Matic, or Polygon. So it's using a layer 2 chain right now, and basically reducing gas prices and fees. So that's why everything's free and easy to use. It's super fast. So great experience. Highly recommend it, especially if you want to get some Matic NFTs really cheap and easy. I think from my experience and a friend's experience, like our first pack drop was pretty good, and I've read like everybody's first pack drop seems to be pretty decent. So very cool. Anyway, that is the roundup of the NFT games. I've been quite honestly trading and coding wherever I can lately. It's been pretty cool, like having as much free time as I've actually had lately to work on the Athletaverse. So definitely kind of decided to just jump in on that. And there's a few things, like it's funny, like the original idea was just to kind of whip together a quick MVP and just get something working, do a front end, like just blast through it as quickly as possible. I kind of decided against that because like there's a lot of really important kind of like, I don't know how to put it, but I guess like it's just like access is really important. There's a lot of little gotchas with smart contracts where like, yeah, I think the amount of code that you want to put in your smart contract should be as simple as possible, but it doesn't mean that your smart contracts won't be complex at the end of the day. So there's a lot of access control type of stuff that I built in. I spent a lot of time going through like the flow design patterns. Let's pull those up for you because these are awesome. So basically, like what I wanted to do is kind of get the hard work out of the way. As much as I want to get like a front end going and do the fancier stuff, the stuff that feels better. I think I got to spend probably another week or 2 weeks just fleshing out the smart contracts and really thinking about who can do what. Not only what assets do we need and what do those assets do, but what are the roles and capabilities that are really going to be a part of this system. So I now have like a super admin resource for myself or the deployer of the Athletaverse that restricts certain functionality just to me, which is great because now when I have this league system that I've built, you have to request the ability to mint a league from the league super admin. So that restricts against spam. And it also like allows me to kind of restrict who can start a league at the beginning because there is an integrity factor there. I think leagues are going to be kind of an entry point to manage the like stats and attributes of the like player NFTs themselves or the athlete NFTs themselves. So I think it's really important to make sure that whoever has access to those types of methods is pretty invested in the health of like the Athletaverse overall. So I think like in my head, the original idea for like a league owner or league manager would be like a game developer. Like super ambitious thoughts would be somebody like EA or something that wants to build like a sports franchise game on a blockchain protocol. They would kind of buy the rights to a league manager resource, and then I could approve them, like basically green light them or give them the keys to go ahead and actually mint their own leagues, and they could go ahead and mint like a collection of leagues. So they could have a NBA, NFL, like basically one for every major franchise that they put out there. So So that's kind of like, that was two major design patterns that I wanted to wrap my head around, that had like an instant use case in the hey buddy, cat's joining the party here, that had an instant use case in the contract itself. So let's actually get into it and show you what I'm talking about here. So yeah, this has been a lot of fun, because like there was some major rust to work off. Like I hadn't touched a line of Cadence code in probably 2 months while I was working on other things. So getting back into it was a bit humbling. But yeah, just going through the actual contracts themselves, like I needed to use a few patterns that I wasn't using to create some of those kind of security systems that I didn't have originally. So this is a horrible example, because this contract is ultimately just going to be kind of a wrapper for the other more specific ones. But this is where the majority of the time has been spent over the last couple of weeks, or last week. So I basically, at first I thought like this is basically an NFT. Like it, every league has like a unique ID. I realized I need like a league owner to be able to own multiple leagues, so it needs a collection. So right off the bat, I went, okay, let's just pull in the NFT standard and make leagues in NFT. So I went through the motions. Everything that you see here is pretty much compatible with the NFT standard, except for we don't have the withdrawal capability. And this is just because I don't want to make leagues tradable. So ultimately, I decided to scrap the NFT standard and make my own kind of custom resource that had just a couple of little special cases or a couple little kind of special interfaces for users to be able to manage leagues, and like a private capability for the league owner to be able to manage their leagues. So approving teams, removing teams, that type of thing. And then like a public capability for people to be able to like register their team to the league. So you'll kind of see this stuff down here. So now like leagues have a league manager, league public. So there's a few things that I basically just changed up and customized specific to a league, and it changed it just enough to kind of break it away from being an NFT. Like I was going to end up having to hack the NFT into something it's not, and that just, at that point, why do it? So yeah, let's go through the contract. So just like a standard NFT, like we start with a total supply that just tracks the amount of leagues that have ever been minted. This here is another thing you'll see from like the Cadence design patterns, which instead of just writing out your path names all over the place, you can create and store like a field in your contract. And these are typed very specifically. Like you can't store a private path in a storage path field, vice versa. So you'll see down where I've actually initialized the contract, all the paths are correct, and if I mess with that at all, or if I change the root directory, I will be yelled at by the syntax highlighter. So for the league minter, like I basically just split them out and kind of organize them. So certain resources are going to have private capabilities and public capabilities. Every resource is going to have a storage path because you need to stick it somewhere. Those are all defined when the contract is initialized. And then what's really cool about that, like the reason we do this is because you can then just use the path that's been stored in the contract everywhere, like in the contract itself or in a transaction or a script. And that helps against like typos or just people sticking somewhere that you didn't intend it to. So it's just a best practice to basically set your path once and then use the field everywhere else you need to call the path. You do that quite a bit, like in transactions and scripts and stuff. You need to access capabilities to call methods and things like that. So so I pulled these out from the NFT standard because I still like them. I think they're still important to know. The league, when it's created, does get deposited into a collection, so why not? have an event for that. And I mean, it's good to know when your contract was successfully initialized, so why not as well, right? And that way you can go back if you want to see when it was done. You can easily find the event. These are all custom to the contract itself, so a new league's created, a new league minter is approved, a new league minter is requested. That's probably the order should probably switch. So basically, there's an event that goes out when somebody requests the ability to mint a new league, and there's also an event that goes out when it's approved. What's handy there is, like, me as the super admin, I can easily kind of see like a list of notifications for requests that have come in, and then easily go and interact with that account using a transaction because the address is available, and vice versa. The account can be notified when their league minter was approved, and they can go ahead and create a league. And then events for when teams are registered, removed from leagues, and approved or rejected. So registered and approved are different. Registered is like more of like a request to be registered. Approved is when it's actually approved to be added to the team, and it's a similar level of control to like the league manager, when you basically just don't want people adding things to things without the person who owns the thing okaying that, right? Like I can't just add my hockey team to the NHL. We'd get dominated, and it would completely throw off the economy of the NHL. So it's just one of those things where somebody needs to approve that, and we've built that into this system. So that's it for the events. Next we have like the custom interfaces. So this is just a way to like split up the methods within the league token. So this used to be NFT, now it's just a token. I don't really know what it is. So it's just a token. So yeah, I can basically pass one of these two interfaces out, and what I've done is I've linked the league manager to a private capability, so only the owner of the league can access that capability. They have to be authorized to use that. So that just prevents somebody who's not a league manager from like approving a team and managing the team on their behalf. And then on the flip side, I've just created an easy public interface that anyone can access, right? So if you want to register your team to a league, then you have the ability to do that. And then otherwise you can just see what team IDs, or this is a horribly named method. It's like it should say get all team info. It's just get team info, but this just returns like a dictionary with team IDs and their name. It's just a quick kind of report method that I use for testing. So I promise I'll be better and name things better. And then, so this is the actual token definition. So you can see we're using those two interfaces. Again, this is very similar to an NFT. So we have just a unique ID and a name. These are just kind of, this one's definitely necessary. This one I'm just using again for testing. There's going to be a lot more functionality for a league, and I'm sure a lot more data to actually store in a league. So we'll probably build like a custom struct and actually, manage this differently. But right now I'm just more or less worried about kind of building like a basic MVP for assets and permissions. And then what's this? Ooh, yeah, this is a neat little kind of struct that I built. So to handle like the approval system, I think I'm gonna flesh this out a little bit better, but I basically built like a capability receiver without reading the design patterns docs. So I'm probably gonna compare that again and flesh this thing out again, but it's just a custom struct. So it's basically stores a couple of different dictionaries and has a couple of different methods on it that make it easier to kind of reuse this functionality in a few different contracts. So like, I think the gear to player thing, I don't know if it's going to be queued or anything, but I just basically assumed that I was going to be using this type of thing in more than one place, and so I decided to just create like a utils contract and build the struct there so I could pull it into various contracts because I've split this code up. And then so when we initialize this, we're just going to initialize it with a string and a roster size. So I think each league kind of has you know, depending on the sport that you're playing, you're going to have a different size of roster, right? Like your baseball team is going to be larger than your hockey team. Same with your football team, same with your soccer team. So I think it's good to have some flexibility there. I'm not sure how I'm going to use that yet, but I just figured it would be important, so I put that in there. I put that in the init, but I sure as hell don't know where I actually used it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. This is early days. Early days. Kevin, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Yeah, so basically just initialize it with, oh yeah, okay, so we pop the roster size into the key capability manager. Like I'll open that up at some point, I swear, and actually go through that. I'm just kind of jogging my own memory. I built that last week, okay? It was years ago. So then we emit our event when the new league is created. Seems like a safe place to do it on init. And then we get into our like league manager methods, so the ability to actually register a team. So we're doing this with like a capability right now. So instead of like sending your team NFT asset into the actual league and say losing ownership of it, you're just passing a capability to it that would allow the league to use the methods that are required. So like we'll see we'll see how that works. That's just basically wishful thinking. I haven't even like specified the type for the method yet because team is technically what I'm gonna start hashing out today. So I still have to decide whether the team is going to be an NFT or like a custom resource. I'm hoping I can make it an NFT because ideally I'd like a marketplace to be able to easily kind of recognize a team as well as a player. So if this works as planned, you should be able to sell a team in a marketplace that's loaded with an entire roster of players. If that's the way that I go about it. I don't know if I'm going to do a team collection or like a player collection within a team or the same kind of capability system, but anyway, we're passing a capability into this queued capability manager right now that basically queues it up so that the owner of the league can approve or deny the team from joining the league. So we'll emit our team registered to league. That would be the event that pings me and says, hey, somebody wants to join, and then that would prompt me to go ahead and approve, reject, or remove an existing team from my league. So these are all, you'll see like self.teams.add capability. Like these are all methods built onto this queued capability manager thing, and that's why it's nice and handy. It also like really cleans up your code from having to repeat yourself all over the place. Makes it really nice and readable too. So again, just events, because events are great. I think if you have a like notable method in your contract that does anything that might be useful down the road, then make sure that you think about like events that you should actually emit for that, because that is like, at least I'm under the impression like that's how you're gonna really go digging back into history is via events, like through access nodes. That's at least your cheapest way to do it. So the more events that you can put in your contract, obviously don't just slam it full of useless stuff, but the more useful events that you can put in your contract, the better it's going to be down the road when you're trying to interface with those things or interact with that code. Hey Fabrizio, how are you? Yeah, really pumped that this channel is actually getting some attention. Really appreciate the subs. It's cool to see people getting into this stuff, because I had no idea like 6 months ago or you know, a year ago whether people are gonna dismiss it completely or actually want to jump into it and start building stuff. But it is a lot of fun to work with. So that's pretty much it for the team management methods. All very simple. They do what they say: approve, reject, or remove a team. Approve, reject, basically. At this point, like the queued capability manager keeps a history. So like if you've been rejected, you remain rejected. And I was gonna build kind of like pre-checks in the methods to make sure that you can't like try to register a team that's already been rejected. I'm still on the fence about that, as well as like 90% of the rest of the code, because it's I still don't know exactly if that's too harsh or what. So I'm gonna definitely take another look at how that's been built and see if there's a better way to go about it. And then remove team, I think that's just an important one. Like if you have somebody that's not behaving properly, or you know, I think you just need to have the ability to manage your team completely, and removing a team is part of that. So otherwise, these are really just kind of like for scripts, like, so to just check, like, okay, like just a simple array of IDs, so the keys of the teams that have been approved and registered to the team, as well as like the kind of tester jank method that I created here to just read out the team IDs with their names in a dictionary. So those are just kind of for quick checks, mostly for testing. I'd probably build like a better report method in here, and you'll see that like in this design patterns, script accessible reports, things like that. So you can actually like build like cheap and easy kind of ways to interact with your contract, and you can kind of protect certain data, and by basically restricting what people can interact with on the contract side, and then just like implicitly creating these public data structures that people can interact with a script. Because if you remember, like, scripts are free, transactions have a fee, right? So down the road, you want to save your users fees, because we all know what Ethereum looks like today, and we don't want that to happen. So I don't think that flow is going to get there, but it's pretty nice to think about your users. So, and then we just destroy our teams. I guess, yeah, this is a resource, not a struct. So this thing, yeah, this resource here, we just have to destroy it when we destroy that. So we put the destroy method in there, and that's what that looks like. So then we have two new interfaces for our collection. So this is, if you've seen the NFT standard, this is a little bit different. So the NFT standard has a provider, a receiver, and a collection public interface. I have kind of stripped out the provider receiver, because again, we don't really need to worry about like trading functionality so much. We just need to have an interface for team owners or the general public to interact with the collection. And we also need like an interface that's private for the owner of the league collection to be able to actually manage their collection. So you can see that this one, basically what's different here is, that's actually stupid, I should pull deposit down into this. But this is kind of the special method that the collection public doesn't have. So borrow league just borrows like the league like token, or what used to be the NFT, and gives it access to the league public interface, which is what we saw up here. And then the borrow manager pulls out the actual manager interface with all the good stuff that actually allows you to manage the teams that are a part of the league. So that's kind of how that's handled. You'll see I actually store those in separate, like the league public goes into a public path, the league private league manager goes in a, collection manager goes into a private path, and then that allows you to kind of control who has access to those. And when we get into the transactions and stuff, you'll see pretty clearly that like the only the signer can really, like the transaction signer can really interface with this. So it's really locked into just being like the right account who's authenticated can actually pull this interface. So that's really what's cool about resources and interfaces. Like, somebody had a great question about like, what's the deal? Like, what's so special about these? And I think I gave like an 80% answer, but like after like the last couple of weeks and really playing with it, it's like roles and permissions. Like, that's totally like what's special about this, and the ability to kind of lock down your application by account storage and things like that. Like, that is, I like it a lot better than Solidity, in my opinion. Like, it's just it's really cool, and it, like, when you get into these like capability receivers and things like that, like it's I just love the way that the whole kind of contract deploys, super bin resource goes into my account, That's the only time that super admin resource ever gets created. After that point, it's locked in, and the league manager has to go through this approval process. And like even the way that capability gets passed over is pretty slick. So I think it's fun from just a just a programming standpoint. It's just fun to work with this stuff. So anyway, like the collection itself, like I said, it looks really similar to the NFT standard collection, and that's because I stole it. So it's I just changed own NFT to own leagues, token instead of NFT. Did some sweet renaming. The deposit method is identical. Get IDs is also identical. Borrow league is just borrow NFT. The only thing that's really different is instead of borrowing a non-fungible token .nft, I'm borrowing our tokens implementation our tokens implementation of the league public interface. So it's just a restricted version that's locked into these methods and doesn't have access to the more dangerous or destructive ones that the manager does. So then similarly here, like same idea, right? Borrow manager, just grabbing the other interface. So we're just casting is what we're doing here. Like if we pull out a resource from a dictionary like this, we're gonna cast it as whatever type we are allowed to, I guess. So in this case, I have the ability to restrict that to just that interface, and that's what's going on there. And it is going to return an optional, so it could return nil, so we just need to check for that when we call this method in our code, because the thing may not exist. So, and then similar, like with our token resource, we just need to destroy the resource dictionary that we have up here before we get rid of it. So these destroy methods are like sketchy, and I would definitely think that through before pushing this into production. I wouldn't just kill something like that. I would probably find a way to put it somewhere safe before destroying the resource that owns it. Create empty collection is the exact same implementation from this is the same thing from the NFT standard, basically. Setup account collection is just a kind of easier way to go through. Instead of writing a transaction that does all this stuff, I just wanted to pack it in. So you can see, like, this is a good example of where we're using our named paths. So just pulling the path names from the contract itself. So what's actually going on here is we create a new collection using this guy, and then we save it to our our named storage path. And then this is where we create the links to the two interfaces, or the two capabilities that we defined above. So this is where we create the public capability for the safe stuff, and the private capability for the riskier stuff, and the stuff that the league manager only has access to. And that's the important part. Like, when you're going through the transaction to actually manage your league, you have to be authenticated to even have access to this private capability in the first place. So nobody else is going to be able to call that method on your league. Has account collection is just a quick Boolean check, basically, to make sure that the signer of a transaction has actually created the leagues and has somewhere to put a new league. Request league minting capability. So this takes a signer, so the authenticated object, and I want, like, this is one thing that I'd love to know if there's maybe a better way to do, because I don't know if it's like unsafe or something, but I feel like this is probably, this is the way I'm going to do it for now. So this will set up like your league account collection. So this uses that, basically all this stuff. Creates the capabilities, puts them where they need to be. Need to get rid of that. So this will create a new league minter resource, which we've defined here. So I'll explain that in a second. And it saves that into our, ooh, I need to name that. Okay, so I'll do that after I finish walking through the contract. But that's basically what we're trying to get away from by naming our paths. So that should be self dot league minter storage path or something like that. And then we're always getting that same string value. We don't have a chance of messing that up somewhere else in our code or putting them in the wrong place, and it just makes things really easy to find down the road. And then similar to what we did with our collection, like we have, in this case, the league minter itself, there's a private capability. I don't know if I like the way I did that now, but we're just basically linking a private capability to the entire resource, no interface. And then down here, we're doing a public path to access this capability. So this capability does, like, this is a capability receiver, another pattern. Up here. So I don't know if I've like fully implemented it the way that they had in mind, but I think it is. So what's going on here is when you request the league minting capability, I'm creating a league minter resource and saving it in your account without a named path like a jerk. And then I am like, but the newly created league minter is actually locked. Like, it doesn't have the ability to create a new league yet. So it initializes with a nil value here. And the ability to create a new league requires that capability to not be nil. I think I should probably be a little bit more explicit about what that should be. But that basically, that's what creates like that kind of request pattern, right? So like, you can request the ability to create a new league. That's awesome. I'll be notified once you do this, because this event will be emitted. And then because you have this locked league minter capability in a public path, I can request that, like, I can get a reference to that capability with my super admin resource or whatever. But I can actually put that capability in your, like, let me actually find the thing because I'm jumping around like a jerk here. But I actually have this, like, this method is actually a part of this, which you'll see. Oh no, I'm lost in my own code. Yeah, okay. I'm thinking I built this wrong now. But at the end of the day, somebody should be, like, the league minter should not be able to add the league minting or create league capability to their own account. I think stupidly I gave them the ability to do this. So what I'm thinking is, because I didn't link a specific interface here, I think I probably have given them the ability to add the capability to their own league minter, which is not the intended thing here. So I got to clean that up. But the idea is that they wouldn't be able to add this capability to their own league minter resource. I would have to do that for them. And so I would do that. Once that is in place, then they can go ahead and call this method, and that check won't fail. And then they can create as many leagues as they want, unless I obviously decide to limit that through like a Athletaverse like governance prop or something like that. But that's the intent there. Sorry for falling all over my face while I tried to figure it out, but thank you for helping me debug my code. Okay, so back on track. The approved league minter method provides the ability to actually create a new league. I'm gonna clean this up so that this is all up with the other interfaces too. That's unfortunately, I kind of like had to go spaghetti mode a little bit yesterday to get this all figured out, and
apparently I got 95% of the way there. So this is the league super admin resource. It has this interface on it because I think the league super admin should be able to create a new league as well. But this is, you'll see that the league minter also has it. Yeah, I think it's right. I mean, I tested it and it worked properly, and I think I might just be confusing myself right now because it is getting a little complicated and the code itself isn't really that clean yet. So, but yeah, anyway, that's kind of the basics of it. The league super admin, both of these resources are going to grow. Like, there's really not a lot of functionality going on here. Like I said, it's basically just trying to get the resources created, structure wise, and then figuring out who can do what with them. And as you can see, it's taking its toll on my brain. So I'm making sure that I kind of get that part of things figured out first, and then I can start worrying about like the more fun, fluffy stuff later, like what the league can do, what kind of metadata that the league actually needs, you know, how to go about minting athletes. There's some pretty cool stuff that, like, some big problems that I've got to figure out yet. So it's gonna be a while still, but yeah, that's the basics of it. And then so for initializing the contract, initializing with a total supply of 0, we're just making sure that it's typecast as the right type. This is where we set up all of our paths. So I'm probably gonna kill the word path. Maybe not. I might kill the word. Nope. I'll just leave it as it is. The script is better. It's just sad writing all that sometimes. Just a little note here. So like I've tried to like kind of explain what the patterns I'm using are, where I'm using them, and I'm going to document the code quite a bit better because it is a public repo. I'm hoping that I'm the first to launch the Athletaverse, but if not, just hook me up. We're going to create like, so this is, yeah, the init singleton pattern, and this is really cool. So basically, like, as the deployer of the contract, there are probably some things, at least while testing and in beta, like, that you want to only be able to do as the admin, and there should only be one of you. So I don't think that I'm like a superhero or anything like that. I just like to use the term super admin in case there are any like admin resources. This gives me the ability to delegate out, like kind of like a hierarchy of roles from the top down. So the super admin, like I said, would have like more functionality as the project grows, but right now it's really just responsible for managing like the who can register, who can create a league. So that's all it's doing right now. That's obviously functionality that should only belong to one, like the intended person, in my mind, the owner of the Athletaverse. So for all intents and purposes, that would be me. We're gonna save that into my nicely named storage path. We're gonna create a link to the approved league minter capability. Yeah, so that's a private capability targeting the storage path. And then we're going to set up the account collection for my account, like the deployer's account. Which basically just allows us to create leagues and store them. I just figure we'll probably have like Athletaverse leagues, is like, why not? There's at least a hockey game that I want to build, so I'm going to set this up with the intent to like build some leagues of my own, but the goal is obviously to have multiple game developers building experiences on top of this contract, or multiple leagues, right, that are all related to this. So it's kind of a shared pool of players that are able to, or a shared pool of athlete tokens that are able to play in a wide array of games, hence the Athletaverse. So that's really, like, besides the couple of little oopsies that I noticed there just a few minutes ago, like, that's the most detailed part of the project now, is the league, which is great.
So teams are just kind of I've created kind of a custom take on an NFT resource, I guess, at the end of the day, but I am going to try to make this an NFT. So when I say try, it's just a matter of like, how am I going to be able to handle adding players to a team? I don't know, like, if I want to restrict a team owner to only, so like, let's back up. Should like team management be restricted to only teams and players that I own, or should somebody else be able to add their player to my team, which would essentially give us like the approval process, right? Like, as the team owner, then I would have a similar kind of setup to a league, like the queued capability manager thing, where I'm approving and rejecting players to my team, just like the league owner would be approving or rejecting teams to the league. So that's kind of one of the things that I need to figure out. If we do have that approval system, one of the reasons that I did go with a custom resource for the league was because it made that easier. So I might have to be a little bit creative in terms of trying to restrict roles and permissions. There are ways to do it, like, I think, but it's just, it all comes back to the old elements of jank situation where I don't really like, I don't want to create something that's just a beast to move around, or, you know, like, say somebody trades their team and then they have like a private, you know, capability or something that now can't be moved to the new owner's account, so somebody's essentially just bought a team that they can't interact with. Like, there's a bunch of scenarios that I could see coming up that would cause problems. So I think it's kind of why I'm not like busting out like a white paper and going hard for funding or anything like that right now. Like, I'm really enjoying the educational aspect of building the project. I'm learning a lot of what I would essentially say are like intermediate level things about Cadence right now. So, you know, I can build the contracts, the syntax is comfortable. Even some of the basic patterns, like the resources and capabilities and references and that type of thing, like all that stuff is really comfortable now. But like, the who can do what is still very hazy in my mind, and like, even just how to build something that doesn't exist, I'm constantly kind of like going, you know, like hitting walls, or even just kind of like completely restructuring things in my mind, like after I realize like something just doesn't make sense, or it could be done better. So it's been really fun, like I said, from like an educational standpoint, just getting to know the language a little bit better, and kind of the nuances of flow and cadence, because there's definitely a lot of times where I thought I had built something solid, like even that the like league minting capability receiver type of thing, like I thought that was solid, but now after a second look, I'm not sure again. So it's nice to have like a lack of pressure and an abundance of time to like figure that stuff out, and that's why like I'm in no rush to really hit the ground running on this project until I'm kind of confident with like the MVP version of it. So I think it'll be like the MVP for the smart contracts, really just getting everything fleshed out as basic as possible. The smart contracts alone are definitely going to take another week or two, and then I'll probably push that to like testnet, like devnet, and start working on like the front end UI aspect of it, because that's like, I really want to start playing around with that. I'm a horrible JavaScript developer, but I think that's a great opportunity to get better. And like, there's a lot of good like, let me show you this. Kitty items, man. This is like the holy grail from the Flow team. There were a lot of requests for like a full stack app demo, and the few examples that were out there weren't quite doing the job. Like, it was, I think things were just kind of moving a little faster than
the examples could kind of keep up with. So the team put a lot of effort. Like you can see, like they've done at least a couple of versions of this kitty items repo, which is like a full stack application that demonstrates everything from like a fungible token to a non-fungible token to a marketplace. And what's really cool, and I didn't even realize it until I opened it up and realized I'm a horrible JavaScript developer, was how like well they've built this thing out. Like they've really split it up and given you like an awesome idea of how to build the full stack app and build it well. So it's not just like a bunch of janky scripts that have been thrown together quickly. Everything is split up really nicely, commented out really nicely. It's very easy to get up and running with, and this is what I'm going to be taking the inspiration from for like the front end boilerplate thing for the Athletaverse. So if you are interested, like if you're bored of watching me run scripts in the terminal, and I don't blame you, I'm getting kind of bored of it myself. This is kind of where things are headed, at least on the stream, and kind of in my world is cracking open kitty items. They've got like they've got the basic smart contracts. So just kind of walking through deployment here. They've got the basic smart contracts, so you deploy those to testnet. You can set this up with emulator too. I don't know if they have instructions here, but if you know the emulator accounts and your emulator private key and stuff, you could probably just substitute some things. Don't completely quote me on it, but getting set up on testnet is free and easy as well. So you can follow these steps here to do that. Basically what this does is like allows you to deploy your contracts, so your cadence code's in the repo. Sorry, I'll stop scrolling around everywhere. It actually has like an API that works as kind of like a backend service to like cache like events and serve them up to the web app, which is great. So it's actually split up, like I said, like it's been a missing piece. Like I haven't really built like the API side of things myself. Like I've basically just built like a janky React app on the front end that has been accessing the Flow Access API directly and falling on its face whenever it goes down or or whatever. So this is, like I said, it's a really nice full stack application that gives you a really good understanding of kind of the three pillars of building a Flow app. So this will give you the contracts, the React front end, as well as kind of like the missing piece, which is the API that sits in the middle. And so like one of the problems, like one of the reasons for that API that I've run into at least is like the access API for Flow only goes back a certain amount of blocks. So like you need to, I don't even know if it's possible to get that data at this stage, but you kind of need to be responsible for caching like your own data on the server side, if that's important to your app. And I think, I don't know, it's nice to just kind of have a log of everything that's happened since you deployed your contract. If in say 2 years you want to go back and start accessing data, like the one example that comes to mind right off the bat is like say a token airdrop or something, and you want to build a quick list of your earliest 1,000 accounts or something. Well, if you have your events cached, then it's really easy to go through that and pull that without relying on any external APIs. So it's cool. Like I said, go look through this. I'm going to be learning quite a bit. It's probably going to take me quite a while because like I said, I'm used to writing JavaScript spaghetti, and this is definitely not spaghetti. So everything's split up really nicely. The examples are awesome. I don't know why I just went into the public folder, but you'll see like they've split everything really nicely using custom hooks for everything. So just, it's a good place to go, not only understand how to work with Flow, but maybe even beef up your JavaScript skills as well. So that's where the inspiration is going to come from for the Athletaverse UI. And I think, like I said before, if you are kind of looking for a bigger challenge than just the contract code at this stage, or if you're just if you're not interested in so much maybe writing smart contract code, but you are a JavaScript developer that wants to get a head start building a resume for the inevitable Flow front end jobs that are going to be coming up, or Cadence UI front end jobs that are going to come up. This is a great place to get started. If you build apps like this, you will get hired. That's almost financial advice. So yeah, I was thinking about starting the team contract today, but I also didn't expect to take like 4 years going over what we've already done. I could run it. It's not really that exciting. All you can see basically is that the code works. Just trying to think what else is new since I've streamed. Yeah, I guess. Okay, so one of the big, okay. Maybe I will run the code just so that everybody can see the newer tooling. So I have split that up. I'm still using this go with the flow tooling. So that one, my buddy Bjarta likes to give me credit for it, but Bjarta is the champ behind this tool, so don't let him tell you otherwise. So this is kind of what we're doing. Like if you saw the earlier tutorials, it gets kind of tedious fumbling through like the VS Code, like cadence tools, like clicking deploy contract and then flipping between files and making sure that you're doing everything in the right order. So Bjarta and I, but mostly Bjarta, spent time building some really awesome tooling that just kind of helps you roll through your development story, test cases, whatever you want to call them. So that's what's going on here. It's changed quite a bit since the last time I've gone through this code, so it's kind of worth highlighting what's different. So the newer versions of like the Cadence or the Flow CLI have this new Flow project tooling that Pete and Co have been just hammering on over there. So props, I appreciate it. This is really, really nice to see. So I've split up basically. Yeah, so one gotcha that I realized right away is like, at least I couldn't find a way to create an account. I don't know, now that I think about it, I think I probably can. But, oh yeah, no, like the old tooling and the new tooling, like you can't use Flow Project or Flow Create account with the Flow Project tooling. Sorry if that's confusing, but basically that method doesn't work. So what I had to do was create a separate little Go script, and all it does is create an account for the Athletaverse, and that just creates the one account that I need in order to deploy all the contracts. So the service account comes with the new project tooling. So that's where, like, service account is where like I'll deploy like the non-fungible token standard. But like when I'm testing this stuff, I really like to use as real of a scenario as possible. So like you'll notice in like the demo, like in the actual tests, or where am I going here? Oh yeah, sorry. It's been a while. I'm rusty. Streaming is rusty right now. Okay. So in here, which is like their new flow.json. And these are the Flow emulator private keys. Before anybody calls me out on it, steal away. You got nothing. You got nothing. You got no access to my wallet. It's all good. So everybody has the same key. It's built into like the VS Code like emulator. So I basically just use that in any of my emulator builds because it is an easy way to guarantee that the syntax highlighting is gonna work. So basically just means that the Flow emulator is running off the same accounts that I have running in the console. So before anybody calls me out on having private keys in my Flow JSON, I was thinking about it, don't worry. But it is not a good practice to have these in your JSON file. I kind of want to make sure everybody's using the easy keys if they are going to deploy this project and has it set up properly. So this is the only time you'll see this key in my repos. So anyway, yeah, sorry, I'm getting lost. I'm falling asleep at the wheel here. This is kind of the new contract deployer. So this kind of just basically is responsible for you config which contracts you're going to deploy, what path that they can be found at, and then which accounts deploy these. So this is just environment, right? So you have deployments, this is the emulator environment. In the emulator environment, we have two accounts. The emulator account, which will deploy the non-fungible token. The Athletaverse account, which will deploy all the Athletaverse contracts. Makes sense. It's just to basically split things up where they belong and make sure that kind of my test case can be as realistic as possible. I can test multiple accounts and not just run everything from one. So it's easier to test approval processes and stuff, for instance. So that's the reason, like, I have to have this account set up when I deploy my contracts. I wasn't able to do that through the GoFlow or through the Flow project tooling, like through the CLI. Otherwise I would have just used that instead of a Go script here. But anyway, so it's using the setup, and then it's deploying the contracts. So you can see I'm running deploy, and then we run the test stories, which takes care of everything else after the contracts have been deployed. So there's quite a lot to learn there, but I really do like the new tooling. Like, it's super awesome. I like kind of the feedback that you get, the whole deployment process being built into the CLI. So like, there are the only gotchas, like I said, like you can't create an account with it yet, and you also can't do like the init singleton pattern the way that, like, you can't pass an argument into your init method, which was interesting. So I had to do, like, usually I would have passed like the auth account, like, so it would have been like admin or whatever. Here. So I would have done this, and then anywhere that I'm doing this, like, so for this init singleton here, I would have just done admin save and admin link, admin setup collection. Like, I would have just used an authorized account there and then run these methods on it. Or sorry, setup account collection with the admin in here. So I did have to kind of hack that a little bit. Luckily, it's not really much of a hack. It's part of the flow. I think it was actually part of the example NFT in the NFT standard repo. But another shout out to Bjarta for reminding me that that happened, because I was going to ignore it, or I was going to omit the init singleton, so I didn't have to do that. Yeah, so I mean, the Flow project tooling, it's really like those, like I said, two main gotchas that I've run into is the account creation and passing init arguments. Both are easy enough to work around if you have the right solutions in place. Yeah. But I think that's pretty much everything that's new. Like, oh yeah, I guess showing you some transactions might be cool. I don't know though. I think I need to run through that. Like, I mean, we can look at it. That beautiful syntax highlighting. Here, let me just deploy these contracts so we can make it less yelly. Okay. So, like, one of the first things that I noticed about this whole named paths thing is, it's just, this is where, like, I find it becomes a lot easier to work with them, and like that I appreciate them a lot more, is in these, like, getting capabilities in transactions and scripts. Like, this has potential to be a nightmare if you're just hard coding these paths in here. So beauty, I love this. But anyway, like, this is kind of the main change. Like, the whole request league minter, like, it's what I like about it, and like the reason I kind of wrote the methods in the contract that way is, like, they're super easy to interface with on the transaction side. So, and again, I don't know if this is maybe an anti-pattern or not, but passing in the signer to the request league minter basically just gives that methods implementation access to the authorized account. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's bad. Maybe that's not. I don't know why it would be bad, but for some reason I have a gut feeling that there might be a better way to do that. Once that's done, this is where I mentioned before, like the capability that you need to add. Yeah, this is why it works. Okay. The capability that you need to add to this needs to be retrieved from a private path that's only accessible to the signer that has the league super admin. So I'm thinking anyway. So I need to basically check that the owner of the league minter resource can't like pull this interface off their own resource and add that capability, if that makes sense. I think it's all good, but I will test that, and I think that that has the potential to be super confusing to watch me do on stream, because I don't quite know what I'm actually doing right there, and I'm burnt out at this stage for the day. So I'll probably do that at another time and either report back, or I could do that on a stream. Who knows? We'll see. So many awesome options in this world. Prove team. Yeah, so I'm jumping around here. Yeah, so this is stuff that, like, I mean, I need to name these paths. So this is like when I go through the team contract and stuff here. Like all this stuff, I need to start doing that in here. I need to bring in the NFT standard. Basically just name the pass, do the NFT standard thing. I'm not going to do the queued capability manager thing quite yet, I don't think. I'll see what I need to do there. Like I might just, like this is where it would go if I'm going to do it. But I really need to just figure out like if I can restrict the ability to manage the team roster or not with an NFT. Otherwise I gotta figure out another way to manage that. And then when I do that, like I said, I'll name the pass and fix up all those transactions. But like the whole next step will just basically be doing what I did with the leagues with the team again. Starting with the NFT, testing the NFT, seeing if it works the way I expect it to. If not, then I'll make a custom resource. But again, the teams, the players, the gear, and even the equipment bags or gear boxes should all be tradable, right? Like they should all be NFTs. So I think it's just the idea of selling your team or franchise is too cool, especially if it's like a really notable or like prestige franchise with like really good players. It's just something that I feel like I would be missing out on if we didn't have it. So otherwise, why build a team, right? Like at the end of the day, you want to earn. You might want to let that go or transfer it into somebody else's account or whatever. So it seems like that should be an NFT, and that's where the biggest challenge is going to be. Leagues, I'm not so worried about. I don't like the only scenario I could see a league being like portable would matter would be like, say there's a well-established league built by a game developer that's shutting down and another developer wants to buy that league. But I think like we'd probably be able to write, like provided the right people have the right keys, or even if I think enough about that beforehand, I might be able to create like some sort of special admin ability to facilitate that. So, because I think it's kind of like the more I think about it, the more important it is, right? Like one of the biggest, like coolest things about like blockchain gaming and kind of blockchains in general is the longevity, or like the invincibility, not so much the immutability, but the invincibility of the code, or like the fact that it should be around much longer than we are. So, you know, it would be cool if there was a league that had been running for 100 years and maybe had gone through a couple of owners. In that case, I could see a need to transfer it between accounts. So, yeah,
fun stuff. I guess we might as well start hacking the team. And we've got a branch that says Team NFT, so why not, right? Guess we don't have players yet, so I'm not seeing imports. Okay. I just realized, like, I deployed the code, but I never actually ran the code, just so, like, if there's anybody that really wants to see this run successfully before I mess it up, let's do it. So this is just gonna run the demo Go script that I walked through extremely quickly. So basically, so when we run it, does a setup. So it runs that first easy, simple Go script, creates the Athletaverse account for us, and then it runs flow project deploy. So that's where it reads the flow JSON, deploys all of our contracts to the designated accounts, and then after that our actual demo script takes over and starts using the deployed contracts and accounts that have been created, or the account that had been created already. So this goes ahead and creates another account, and then it outputs the events too, which is actually really nice and helpful. So that's something that Bjarta added. Like, he spent a lot of time formatting those nicely. So props, Bjarta. I appreciate that. It's nice to read this to the peoples. So it creates our first two account outputs, basically like the account address. I think, oh yeah, it's a bytecode version of a public key. And after creating those two accounts, it goes down to request a league minter with the first account. So this would be game developer, and this is, I gotta name these actors better as opposed to just having user 1, user 2. That's horrendous. So this is like a game developer that wants to create a new league. So they've requested the new league. This is the event that would go out with it. So I would see like these events, I would actually be filtering for them on the admin side of the application, and I'd get a notification when this happens that this account wanted to do this, and that easily allows me to go in and just do a quick approve or reject by adding their address in the transaction, which we do later. And then there's the approved league minter. So this is me responding to that event basically. So I go, okay, you can mint leagues. Beautiful human being. So now they have the ability to create a league. So we could, and sorry, I should probably walk through it over here too. So we're running the transaction. We're signing it as the user who wants to create the league. So this would be the game developer. Printing our events, and then in the next block we are running our approved league minter transaction. We're passing it in the first user's account because it asks who are we approving, which account are we approving for. So that's where I would pass in their account address if I was actually running like some server-side code or something like that, or like running a function on my app. I would pass in the account address, and then I would sign this with my Athletaverse account in order to actually be able to do this. So this is the method that would revert unless I was signing it, because I'm the only one who has the power to do this. The league super admin. So once that's done, you can see that we've got the event here. this user's been approved. This would go off and probably trigger a notification in their side of the admin UI or in their side of the UI, and then they'd probably be presented with like a new navigation pane or something like that that allows them to interact with their newly created, or that would allow them to mint a league and manage the metadata and settings and all sorts of stuff. So create league, this is just basically the minter. So once they have that ability, they can simply run this transaction. No arguments, just sign it. As long as they have the capability, then this will go through and they can have a league deposited into their league collection that was set up for them when they did this. And then the next block, we're gonna actually create a team. So again, this is where I like to use, oh sorry, you can actually see the deposit for the league here. So it's the deposit event that comes from the league contract. Again, nice, right? Like just to have a record of what's gone on in your app so that at a later time you can go see what has moved from where to where or been minted when or whatever. It's good to have history. And that history is immutable. On the blockchain at least. So team create team successfully applied. So we've created the team, we've named it the Huge Butte, and then we've signed this with user 2 for a more realistic test case. So I'm assuming in my test that user 1 would be like a game developer, but wouldn't really be creating a team to play the game. We would have another user that would want to create a team and add that to user 1's league. So these are, like I said, going to be next year, and these will be named much better. So anyway, that happens. We all celebrate. In this case, we just have a new team created event, which outputs the name or the ID and the name of the team. This is going to change drastically because if you remember, we're going to go turn teams into a non-fungible token. So immediately we're going to have like a minted, or like we're going to have like a deposited. I'll have a created, like new team created event, but it'll also have a deposited event because it'll go into a team collection. Yeah, and then register team. So now we're asking kind user 1 if we can register our team. I feel like this is missing something. Let's look at this. Okay. So I'm gonna fix this path. Okay, yeah. So that's just, I'm thinking resource still. So like this implementation before the NFT, it just had a team capability. So like one user would have one team and then could do it again, or you'd have to store it at a new, like a path with another name. And this is dog shit, like quite honestly. Like you don't want to be doing that. Like if you need more than one resource in a place, then you need at least some form of collection. So when I rename this, like this will now have a collection. I will have to borrow a team from that collection and then pass whatever capability that I'm trying to pass into this league. So we'll do what makes sense. Like I'll build whatever custom interfaces I need to build on top of the NFT. But the goal, like I said with teams, is to keep teams as an NFT, so that the NFT standard can be used in marketplaces and the team can be easily recognized without a marketplace having to write custom code for me, because they won't. So I would have to build my own. Cool. So that's what's missing in this version of it. The transaction kind of assumes like it knows where the team's coming from, because it can only be coming from one place, where the actual implementation that we're going to be going for, the actual implementation will require us to actually select a team from our collection and then pass a capability from that reference. Gangster. So that's that. In this case, we're basically just asking user one to if we can register our team, our one and only team, to League One in their collection. So again, 80% of the way there. So, and then yeah, so these are all just basically methods that I've just patched up so until we get the team implementation proper. But this will allow you to approve your team. So again, we're just like, at least in this case, we're kind of designating which things we're doing where. So this has to be done by the league owner. So we're selecting the league and the team that we're going to approve. These are kind of super ubiquitous, but on the actual transaction itself, you can see the named labels. So I mean, in the case of the Go code that we're writing here, this is just a test code. Like you'd actually have like JavaScript like named methods and interfaces kind of built into your kitty items like UI, instead of this pretty hard coded Go script. But for testing, this is nice. So after the league owner runs that approve team method and specifies which team and league they want to interact with, these are just, anybody can run these scripts. You don't need to have an authenticated account. You just need to designate which league owner's collection you want to look at and which league you want to get the team info for. So that'll output those dictionaries with team IDs and titles. And then in the remove team, we have, again, kind of, oh, sorry, that's a transaction. So this one has to be signed again by the league owner. It's a league management transaction. And basically, again, we're just saying from my league collection, from League 1, remove Team 0. And that allows us to make room for another team if we want. And then here, it's just another test run of our script. So no signer. We just need to get the team IDs from the specified user's league collection and league. So that is what that code actually does before I blast on and get lost doing other things. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick breather and then I'll come back and we'll at least get started on kind of transitioning from the team custom resource into using the team NFT standard. Or sorry, into using the NFT standard for the team. And I'll kind of walk through what that process looked like. Bear with me. Okay. So getting started with just turning the teams into an NFT. I think we can. Yeah, we could do. Sorry, I'm thinking whether we use paths or not here. What do we do here? Yeah, we can use paths. It's great. So I'm in contracts. So before we had to, like we're using the tooling here, so we're able to use the paths directly because the tooling, as far as I'm aware, like the tooling enables this because it's smart enough to know where to look for this contract. You don't have to use the account numbers, which is nice. Like it's a lot easier for me to look over and say, okay, it's in here, as opposed to have to dig through float. Like, I mean, it's not that bad, but otherwise I'd have to go in here, grab this, pop the prefix on it. So it makes things faster and easier to work with. And also, when you're deploying to different environments, you may or may not be using different addresses for deployment, so it just makes it a lot easier to not have to go and rename things as you change your environments and stuff. So pretty handy. So we're gonna pop that in here. Let's see, contract interface. So that makes sure that, so we're gonna need of our total supply. So okay. I don't know. Count of the total. Sounds weird, it's not the currency, so count of the total teams in circulation. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna try not to mumble. I know I mumble pretty bad. So these are going to be the events from the NFT token standard. So contract initialized, doesn't take an argument, private event, withdraw or deposit. Can't remember what the args are there. Event address optional. Borrow you. That should be similar. Yeah. Except for that's from. This is going to be using one thing I was doing was like I was Athletaverse team.team and I hated that, and then I kind of realized like this calling that .team might have been too specific, and that's why like instead of pub resource league it was pub resource token in the league. So it's like this is like the NFT asset of the Athletaverse team contract, just like that will be like eventually we'll have a collection. So that was just a little thing that I noticed I was doing that I hated, and kind of realized that that wasn't maybe correct. Okay, so
This just basically ensures that it has an ID. This is a minter, essentially. I'm just gonna comment that out for now. But I think, yeah, I don't know. I'll put something in place to figure out how to handle that too. Cause like ideally we don't want to spam teams, and I think maybe what's gonna happen is there'll be a purchase there of some sort, right? Like you'll have to, you know, whether it's a teeny $5 purchase or something like that, it'll be some sort of financial qualifier to just make sure that you're actually intending to create a team for a purpose. So where I'm going with that is I'm probably gonna tie the minting of athletes into the total supply of teams, because there's gonna be a draft concept. So there should be kind of a correlation between the draft pool and the teams that are being created, because I think every team will have kind of a target roster size, and there should be like tiers of like available players to build your initial team. So again, where I'm going with that is like I don't want people to just be able to create infinite amounts of teams for free, because they could then create like a just completely saturated pool of athletes. So I think we should be able to restrict that in some way, shape, or form. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle the minter for teams, because it is going to be important for like the whole integrity of the platform. But we'll do something cool, I'm sure. So we're gonna have pub resource collection. It's gonna be non-fungible. Provider, non-fungible token, receiver, and non-fungible. Collection public. That didn't look right. And so again, like a safe way to do this would probably be like move these into like the Athletaverse collection or something like that, instead of destroying them completely. Like same thing with League or whatever. Like I could just build kind of like a safe, almost like a trash system, right? Like where if somebody was like gonna destroy their own thing, then send all of the like other assets that might have been lost along with that thing back to the like admin account, and let the admin decide what to do with them. So at least like, yeah, I don't know, like maybe the person didn't mean to do that, maybe then I can help restore their account. Or maybe if they did mean to do that but ditched a high value asset, like I could auction it back into the community or something like that. Like I don't know, I guess in sports, like teams don't usually just go away, they usually change locations or something, or change ownership or whatever. So it would be sad to have like a Wayne Gretzky level of asset that just disappeared one day. Shout out to Wayne. Yeah, okay, so that's your basic collection structure. We're just gonna actually obviously put some methods in there. We're gonna need the Pokemon deposit weapon withdraw should return non-fungible token. Borrow NFT. Or no, I don't really know this stuff off by heart. So the only reason I'm actually pulling these off the top of my head is just because I just did this with the league. So I have a somewhat recent idea of what's going on. But I am gonna probably copy pasta some of this code here because I don't really feel like figuring out why why my interface isn't conforming. So like the whole idea here is like if you don't have the right methods in place in your collection, then oh yeah, it doesn't matter what the implementation looks like. It's when you get IDs though. So you can see I'm just pulling these kind of off the top of my head, but they're from here. So just making sure they have the right. Ooh, you can rename that label. Making sure they have the right arguments and return values. That's what interfaces are all about. You can have your own implementations in here though, as long as they return what they're supposed to. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah. Capital. That's a resource. I don't think I'm actually allowed to. Am I? No, probably not. That's tripping me up. Like I said, it's been a minute. I'm just gonna look at their example NFT. So the contract standard does it. The onFlow flow NFT repo in their GitHub. The non-fungible token CDC. This is the interface. Like this is all the stuff that my contract has been using. This is the implementation. So if you want to know how to actually write this stuff to use it in your contract, this is an example of how to do that. Should probably switch my deposit and withdraw, apparently. Nope, doesn't matter. Okay. So they're moving it into a variable, then pulling the ID from the variable, then storing it. Interesting. We're just gonna copy pasta. Actually, yeah, we're gonna copy pasta. If I wasn't on stream, I'd probably just hand code that out to. Like, I'm a fan of muscle memory with code. So what that's doing is it's casting it at. Oops, we don't want that. Athletaverse League. So it's casting this, like, because we're passing in like the non-fungible token NFT type, and we're making sure that we can pull out the Athletaverse League NFT type. So basically this has to be an Athletaverse League, or sorry, this shouldn't be league, this should be team. So this should be the Athletaverse team NFT, otherwise it won't like this will revert, and then from there we pull the ID off the token, pop it into a variable. I guess we have to typecast that as well so that it knows that we're not trying to pass in the token. But that's how we get the ID. So then we basically just say move this token into the owned NFTs dictionary at this key, and if there was an old token in there, move it out. We'll admit the event here, so just basically say the owner of the collection's address, we deposited this ID to it, and then destroy whatever old token, if any, was in the dictionary. So that's what's going on there. And then the withdraw method. So again, I'm just gonna like copy paste because I want this code to work. I'll worry about like the implementations and stuff after. This makes life easier when you're on stream too. So I won't show you how I would have implemented it today, but I will show you how I get the answers to my questions. So this one's a little easier. Make sure we're returning the right thingamajig. So we're gonna make sure that we're returning the NFT, not the non-fungible token standard contract. So yeah, so in this case, we're gonna remove the token from the dictionary at this key, pop it into this variable here. If it doesn't exist, we're gonna panic and say missing, so missing team in this case. I think more of a fan of doesn't even exist, man. Emit withdraw. So again, similar to up here, just gonna say we withdrew this token from the owner of this collection's address, and then return the actual token that we pulled out of the dictionary to the caller. Borrow NFT. This one is actually tricky. I guess I'll just pop a pre-check in here. Okay. So in this case, I'll just pass the ID to the dictionary, make sure it's not nil, or we'll just fail the transaction right there. So this just runs before anything, and then if that's all good, we'll just return the reference to the non-fungible token. So this one, like, this is the method that destroys my soul every time that I code an NFT from the contract, because you can't really, like, you always, like, at least in my opinion, I'm going to probably have to create like a team. It's gross. I don't know. I'm gonna have to create like a custom interface that provides access to the Athletaverse team NFT, because otherwise I just can't. Like, there's no access to any custom methods off this implementation, which really sucks. So that's something that I'm hoping gets fleshed out. You know, it's as much a community thing as anything. So this is an easy one. It's as much of a community thing. Like Dapper has their plate full, right? So I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if their team's gonna get to it, or if the community's gonna push some ideas forward for how to manage that stuff better. But that's the extensibility kind of thing, that, or composability side of thing, that doesn't work very well. Is like, we want to be able to kind of add to that token standard resource without kind of writing any redundant code, or kind of extend from that maybe, right? So there's two concepts there with composability and extendability or extensibility, and yeah, we just haven't been able to get anywhere with that recently, but I think it sounds like things might be moving in that front again. But yeah, so that's our basic collection functionality now. We can, I think we have everything. Nothing's yelling at me yet, so that's good. We're gonna need to create new collection, so up on. And that's gonna return. That'll return, oops, not the collection public. That'll return a new collection. Can I just do this? Yeah, I can. Yeah, I think so. How did I do that here? Hint for me. No, it's not hinting. Okay, well, I'm just gonna copy what I did there. I don't know if that's right or not, but be consistent. That way, if I'm wrong twice. Okay. So I don't know, for minting, I think it's probably the best way to go would be like a knit singleton pattern again. Make the Athletaverse admin the only one who has the ability to actually mint players, and then create a public method that would be like a payment method or something like that. So somebody actually has to sacrifice something in order to create a team. That makes the most sense to me. Just gonna check their, oops, their example again. Yeah, so they didn't put any interfaces on that, they just left it pretty vanilla. Okay. So we'll just create a team minter, and then we'll just init singleton that bad boy. Maybe I'll put, yeah, that's what I'll do. So I'll just have like a mint NFT method on it, and then, okay. Sorry, I'm not very good at English today, but I promise I'm gonna do the right thing. Minter. So we need how do I want to do this? Maybe I'll just put a comment and say, make minting less janky. Minter fabric. Shape public interface.
And then, so basically we're gonna do this. Cool. So like, I don't know. I'm just thinking like, yeah, I don't know how best I'm gonna set that up. I don't know if I'm gonna figure it out on stream either. But basically it needs to restrict the method that actually mints a new team until somebody has made a payment. So then does that mean I need to use the capability receiver pattern again? I think so. Because then it's like, I don't like it because it's gonna be a single transaction. This is maybe where I'm probably gonna stop and think for a little while, because again, like, this is super important to me. Like, minting a team has to be restricted. Likely is gonna be payable, and then on successful payment will mint a new team using the admin resource probably, right? So really I just got to think about if like there's any way to do that safely in one transaction, or if it's best to, no, I don't think it's best to use a capability receiver. I think it's probably safe enough to just store a team minter with a public capability and create new team method, and then either, yeah, I think I'll just create like a second like payment method or something like that, and then wrap that around create new team and expose the payable method. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically this, like, just team. Payment amounts. Ew, yeah, I don't really want to do this. Like, I could do, like, I do want to do this, but I don't want to do this part right now, because now I'm thinking, like, I gotta pull in a vault. Well, not really, but
Athletaverse would need to pull in the flow token contract if I was just gonna use like flow token to test with, and then I'd need an Athletaverse vault, and then I'd need to actually manage like the payment. So like this wouldn't be payment amount. This would be like vault. This would be that would be like vault balance, and then so if that was a 5 flow payment, then we'd go ahead and call create new team. Yeah, like I'm dumb. There's no point in. Okay, so kill this. We just basically need to check this and then do that. We shouldn't be passing in an ID here either. That should be done automatically. Just create the team and then pay for it. So I need to import the flow token contract. And then we need to add this little definition here into our interface. Okay, so this isn't gonna work until I import flow token, and I might as well do that. Sucks. So now I need to work flow token into my testing process. Well, that's a general idea. And then when I actually do initialize the contract, I would just mint one team minter using the init singleton, store it in my like Athletaverse account at a named path, and then I would just link a public capability to this method. And then once that's all linked up and I'm importing everything properly, the user would have to pay me in flow before they could successfully create the team. I think that'll do. Like, I think that'll probably be everything we need for the initial test case to kind of prevent team spam, and we'll see kind of how that goes. I really don't like. I might try to do it so that it's free to play, like everyone can mint one team, but it's still like I'm kind of warring with the idea over like I don't want everyone to have a team if they're not going to use it, because again it comes down to like there's going to be a scaled supply of NFTs, at least in my mind right now, like player NFTs, athletes, that like is going to be impacted based on the amount of teams that are minted. So unless I can think of a better way to do that, it's really important to restrict who can mint a team. So it's not going to be expensive to play, but I don't think it's going to be free to play. Like I don't want it to be like a $500 investment or more to get started with this. I think that's ridiculous. But you know, I think 5 to 30, like five is the bottom probably. I think that's super cheap. 80 US would probably be my ceiling, because that's kind of a retail price game. Like, I think it's actually more expensive than a retail price game in the US, but anyway, that would be kind of the ballpark, right? I wouldn't want it to be any more expensive than like somebody buying a PlayStation game to get started with, because that just doesn't make sense to me. I want it to be attractive and motivating to actually use. So, but yeah, I mean, like, we're starting to get into some, well, not with this one. This one's still pretty simplified. Like, we don't have like all the named paths I still need to do. I still need to come up with this. It kind of took the wind out of my sails, not gonna lie, looking at this whole getting the whole flow token side of things built up. But this is gonna be like the team. I don't know if I'll get to the athletes this week. It's Thursday tomorrow. Yeah, maybe I might start the athletes on Friday. Gotta clean my house too, so we'll see what happens. But I'm going to try to get through definitely the team NFT contract this week. Moving into the athletes and gear next week. So like I said, hopefully like a couple of weeks left in you know, contract land, and then I could start moving over to the UI side of things. I think the UI side of things is going to be fun because it'll be off the emulator, it'll be on DevNet and TestNet, so anybody that wants to from like the channel or anything can start to play around with it and actually I'll find a way. Like, you won't have to spend money to create a team. I'll create a faucet or something like that for the dev environment, but it'll be fun because like it'll be more than just me testing it, and it'll give like viewers and anybody who's interested in playing around with it an opportunity to kind of like play around with the basic clunky UI and get kind of an idea of what's going on here. So yeah, still early. Quite a lot. Like, it doesn't seem like a lot's really happened since the last stream because I'm essentially just, you know, doing housekeeping on what's already here. The league has changed quite a bit and has kind of beefed itself up quite a bit in terms of like permissions and all that stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be quite a lot of kind of under the surface work, I think, before we get to that UI and the more fun stuff. So I will try to check in once a week. I really do apologize for the lack of streams over the past few months. Not a good excuse for it, so I'll just try to make more time for it. But I am pumped about this project. Really excited to see so many people jumping on the channel and getting a lot out of the tutorial videos, so that's great. I would like to kind of put together some quick how-tos over the next little while. For whatever reason, I'm like hesitating on that because I don't have a cool intro. Stupid, but I like polish. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, definitely as far as like the contract development, it would be like ideal to just kind of have another like a stream like this once a week where we just kind of hang out and, you know, I can run through the contract or you can ask questions and I can run through maybe your projects or whatever. But I think it's a fun little community that we're starting to build here, so we might as well keep growing it, right? Anyway, that'll be all for me today. Thanks for hanging out, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you next week. Please do drop a comment or whatever. Find me on Discord if you want. Usually in the Flow, or I'm in the Flow channel and the Top Shot channel there too, so feel free to connect. A few of you have been shooting me questions over emails. That's been great. So yeah, stoked to see everybody getting started. Everybody seems to be jumping on the NFT chain, or at least learning how to build it. So best of luck to you. Please do let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you all next time. All right.